Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials or any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopsschool.com.
I just enabled Hystrix dashboard. That's all. Okay. And in my YAML file, let me show you. In my YAML file, I don't need all this. Okay, better I'll copy all into a notepad. Step by step, I'll show you. Okay, I'll show you why this configuration is required and when it is. But right now, I'll just remove all this. It is not even a Eureka client. Now, server port I gave is 5555. What all I did right now? In my pom.xml, I just added only Hystrix dashboard as dependency. Step 2 is I enabled Hystrix dashboard. And in step 3, I gave the port 5555. That's all. Let me start this dashboard. Dashboard is a separate app, and now it should start on 5555 port. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll go to your local host 5555 slash Hystrix, I'll say. This shows me the dashboard UI of Hystrix dashboard. Right now, I want to monitor stream http:// what was the stream earlier I gave? This was the one, right? Localhost 8080/activated/hystrix.stream. I'll copy this and paste it here. Now I'll click on monitor stream. Now you can see that it is unable to connect to command metric stream. Is that running already? Oh, there was an exception in dashboard. Invalid header. What is it? Invalid header. Oh, it is really strange. A minute, give me a minute. It is coming. Let me refresh. Oh, it got it. Maybe some temporary. The request did go through RSO. So now, what is happening? I opened the dashboard, and in the dashboard, I gave this stream and click on monitor. It got loaded. Now you can see this is the thread pools. How many threads are there by default right now? 3. Queue size is 5. This is a thread pool. And here, these are the counters actually. What is the status of circuit right now? Closed. And these are the counters on the sliding window. Sliding window, these are the counters in all the buckets in the sliding window. Green is success count. Blue is short circuited count. This bad request, timed out, rejected, failure. These are the counters on the bucket right now. So all these counters are zeros right now, and status of circuit is closed. Right. Now let me simulate a request. Let me give requests. So I'll just go to 8080 and just refresh multiple times. Okay, refreshed multiple times. Let me see here. Success count is 4. Failure count is red 7. And percentage of failures. Oh, why is it reducing? It became 0 again because the buckets slided. And now on top of the buckets, the counters are again zeros. Right? So errors are there. This one, right? Now let me again simulate requests 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Approximately 10 I gave. See, 6 success, 4 failure. But still, why it is closed? At some point of time, if more than 50% of errors are there, it should have opened, right? Even though there are more than 50 failures, it will not open. Let me try again. I give a number of requests, and again now let's see. 4 failures, 7 success, 36%. And let's wait. The success count will reduce. Oh, why is it still not opened? Actually, I told you request volume threshold on property. Request volume threshold. The value by default was 20. That means in one sliding window, if minimum 20 requests are there, then only they will be considered for creating percentage of failures. So I never crossed 20 requests in one window. So circuit will be closed. Let me try to simulate more than 20 in one window. Quickly, I'll give 20 refresh. I'm just refreshing quickly for more than 20 times. Hopefully now, yeah. See now, circuit is opened and success count is 5. 15 is what? Short circuited. Circuit is now open. Circuit is now open. Circuit is in open state. Right? Now just keep on watching for this circuit. How long will it be opened? Okay, I'll show you. Now it is still open. Now let me give one request now. Still fallback. Success request I want to give. Okay. Fallback. Every time it is executing fallback because circuit is open. And short circuit count you can see. What is short circuit? Can you guess? Short circuit means, let me show you the diagram. Yeah, here it is. Whenever a call comes, it will call hystrex command, and hystrex command will call is open. If circuit breaker is saying the circuit is open, the call will not even go through here, right? It is executing fallback directly. I can say that this is a short circuited request. Instead of making a call, directly it executed the fallback. This is short circuited request, right? So when the circuit is open, the request will be short circuited to fallback. But after sleeping interval of 5 seconds, the call should go through, right? And if it is success, then all the counters should be made zeros and circuit should be closed, right? Let me just give request and try to simulate it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, now I got one response. Now see here, circuit is closed. One success, circuit is closed, right? And now the counters have become 0 after the bucket has slided, right? One success, circuit is closed. So that's how you can monitor the status of circuits using dashboard. But then let's assume that I have one more microservice. One more microservice second app, just for demonstration. Here the code is almost the same. Here in pom.xml, I have added actuator, Eureka client, and Hystrix. And here I have enabled Hystrix. And here in the controller, small difference. This method is returning second app response, and the fallback is returning second app fallback, just for simulation purpose. Okay. Now this is another microservice. Assume. Then in my YAML file, I have exposed hystrix.stream here as well, and the port is 8081. Right. Now let me start this second app also. Now I want to monitor the status of circuits in both the applications. Let us see how it is possible. Yeah, it started on port 8081. Now I'll give a request to 8081. See, I got second app fallback. Again, I'll refresh. I got response. Same, right? In Eureka right now, both the applications are there. First app and second app. Okay. Now, how to see the metrics of second one? I'll go to dashboard. Here I have to give 8081, the port of second one, /actuate/Hystrix stream, then monitor. Oh, I got the metrics about second method also. Whatever Hystrix commands are there, I am seeing. Oh, why can't I see the metrics from both the apps in a single dashboard? It will be good, right? But you have different URL for different streams. For each app, there will be different stream. So I don't feel good. If I can just monitor on a single UI, if I can just monitor both the application related streams and circuits, it will be good, right? So for that purpose, there is one more thing to be understood. Yeah. So there is one more thing called as Hystrix turbine. So let's assume that this is Eureka. Now all the microservices will register with Eureka, and my application, separate application, which has turbine, should also be a Eureka client. This also will register with Eureka. It also should be an Eureka client. Then we can configure turbine application in such a way that it will look up Eureka for, let's say, service 1 and service 2, read their streams, read the streams of those service 1 and service 2 from Eureka. From Eureka to get all those, read their streams, and it exposes one more thing called as /turbine stream. So internally, what this will do is this turbine application, it's a Eureka client, it will look up Eureka, get the URLs of S1 and S2, read their streams, combine them, and if you want to view all of them, you can just hit now turbine stream. Okay, that is the concept of turbine. Now let me modify my application.
Hey viewers, our Master in DevOps engineering program can help you to hone the skills necessary to succeed in high-level DevOps positions. So what are you waiting for? Enroll now and earn certification that show you are keeping pace with today's technical roles and requirements. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
This was my dashboard application earlier, right? Now in this dashboard application itself, I will add both actuator and turbine. So I have added this turbine as a dependency right now. Then in my dashboard application itself, I will enable turbine and I'll enable discovery client, because turbine should be a client, right? So I'll import this. Okay. Now I need to tell to turbine here, this is Eureka client, right? I need to tell where is my Eureka located, and also I need to tell to turbine what all services I am interested in, right? So here is the configuration. I'll copy paste and I'll explain you. Yeah, see here, eureka.client.service URL.default zone. Here is where I'm telling where is Eureka server located. This is Eureka client related things, and it will go and register with Eureka with this name, whatever. Then here I'm saying turbine.appconfig. I'm interested in these streams of these two apps. And I'm saying this turbine will form a cluster of these apps, and the cluster name is default. Okay, don't worry what is the meaning of this cluster name. I'll tell you. Right now I gave as default. Okay, let's see now what will happen. I will restart this dashboard. Just observe this console. Dashboard is starting up. Here it is saying just added. Oh, wait. Yeah, here you can see just added starting handler tuple cluster event handler, and you can see that it is reading. It understood about the historic stream of 8080 and 8081 automatically. Right. Okay. Now the dashboard has started with turbine support, and the port is 5555. Now what I'll do is I just go ahead and give a request to again same thing. Now you have to give a request to the host colon port /turbine/turbine stream. So here is the URL for default cluster. If you have a cluster configured with name default, you have to give port/turbine stream. So now I'll give http://localhost : the turbine app is 5555/turbine.stream, right? Because I'm using a default cluster. If I give a different cluster name, I have to use cluster is equals to cluster name, right? Now let us see. Oh yeah, both of them you are seeing in single turbine stream. It is actually combining both the things, historics and first one and second one, both streams you are seeing, right? So that is the use of turbine. You can see on a single dashboard all the status of all the circuits, their thread pools, everything in single dashboard. Okay, any doubts till now? Let me know. You can give a different cluster name here instead of default. In that case, you have to use this URL, turbine.streams question mark cluster is equals to cluster name. That's all. So that's about Hystrix dashboard. Any doubts? Let me know. Hope it is clear. Okay. So that's about Hystrix. I hope I explained you very nicely. Now let us go to next topic. We have another half an hour. Since this is Friday, I'll just take time to complete the next topic and then leave the exercise for you. I have exercises, the documentation is given to you already. So let me complete one more topic, cloud config server. Okay. So I'll tell you a scenario, then we'll discuss. Let's assume that I have my Eureka and multiple services, service 1, service 1, service 2, service 3, like that, multiple services. Normally what we do is we write the configuration in a .yaml file inside my application itself. So once I build my application, my Spring Boot application, I will be getting s1.jar file. Inside the jar file itself, I'll be having the YML, right? I'll be having the YML inside the jar. So normally we'll be deploying them on the cloud, like PCF or maybe inside a container. So whenever I want to change my configuration, I change my configuration in the YAML file. Again, I need to build the jar because the YAML file is in the jar only. If I change again, I have to build a jar and then again I need to redeploy. So again, if you are talking about Cloud Foundry, it will do a push. Once you push, again a new image will be created and a new container will be started. I'm not feeling good. What I want is, if somehow I can externalize the YAML file configuration, then whenever I change my YAML file, I don't need to rebuild my application, rebuild my jar or restart. I don't need to rebuild. So all my YAML files will be at a single repository, a single place. I want to centralize all my YAML files right now. So I need to follow some convention. Whenever I'm keeping all the files at a single place, what I want is, I want my files to be versioned also, so that if I want to revert back to the earlier version, I should be able to revert back. So the best place to keep my configuration files are in any of the repositories, your source code repositories like GitHub or SVN or anything. So assume that I decided to keep my YAML files in GitHub repository. Then in one repository, I have to keep YAML files for all of them, right? So I need to follow a convention. s1.yaml should be the configuration file for a microservice with the name S1. What do I mean by microservice with name S1? Spring.application.name, whatever we gave, whatever we normally give in application.yml, that will be the name, right? So whenever I want to write a YAML file for service S1, I will write it inside s1.yaml. Similarly for S2, I'll write it inside s2.yaml. And for each application, again, there might be different configurations, like one for production, one for dev, etc. So I'll write s1 dash, the profile name, dev.yaml, s2 dash dev.yaml, s1 dash prod.yaml, s2 dash prod.yaml. Like that, I need to configure multiple YAML files for each microservice. Now, using your common sense, tell me, there might be configuration separate for dev and prod. write this. But there might be some configuration which will be common for both dev profile and production profile. Where should we keep it? For both of the profiles, there might be some common configuration. Where should we keep it? In which file? Actually, whatever we keep in s1.yaml is for a profile with name default. So if there is some configuration common to all the profiles, you can keep in this s1.yaml, right? Similarly for s2 also. Now we have multiple YAML files. What if I feel that there is a common configuration for all my microservices? What I can do is I can write a file with name application.yaml. So in this file, whatever is common to all my microservices, I'll keep inside application.yaml. So you have to keep all of your YAML files in any of the source code repositories like GitHub. Now, Spring has come up with one more thing called as Cloud Config Server, Configuration Server. Configuration Server is nothing but a REST endpoint, REST API with only one endpoint, which is like this /appname/profile. So what I need to do is I need to start a separate configuration server which exposes this endpoint. Now, I need to make my S1 as a client to config server. And what my service should do is during the starting, even before any of the beans are created in my application, that means during the bootstrapping of my application, even before any of the beans are created, I want my S1 to make a request to config server and get its configuration. And using that configuration, I want all the beans to be created. Okay. Now, how can S1 get its configuration during the startup? It has to somehow make a request to / what is the app name for S1? S1 / suppose if I'm starting S1 in dev mode, development profile, dev. So during startup of S1, it should make a call to config server /S1/profile name dev. Now the configuration server understand, oh, I have to get the configuration for an application with name S1 and profile dev. So now it will retrieve the corresponding configuration from GitHub, right? And then give the response back. And using that configuration, my other beans will be created. Now the question is, when I gave a request like this, configuration in what all files will be given? The configuration present in s1-dev.yaml will be given, and also s1.yaml will be given, and also application.yaml will be given, because application.yaml is containing configuration common to all microservices. S1.yaml is containing configuration for all profiles, and this is for specific to dev profile. So whenever s1/dev request is given, it will give the configuration in all these three files. Similarly for prod, right? So to summarize, I want to keep all my configuration files. I want to keep all my configuration files in this one, GitHub. And I want to start my configuration server, which exposes this endpoint. Then somehow I need to make my microservices a client to config server. During bootstrapping of the microservice, it should make a call to, in this case, s1/profile name dev.
Hey viewers, trying to get into DevSecOps? Enroll for our DevSecOps certified professional programs and earn the certification that shows you are fit for these technical roles and requirements. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
The config server will fetch the configuration from the GitHub, the corresponding files, and return it. Using that configuration, my other beans should be created. Let us see step by step. First of all, I need to start config server. Very simple. It is on top of boot, right? How to write an application for config server? Let us see. So quickly, I'll show you. This is my config server. Here is my project. Let me close all other unrelated projects so that it will be clear. Okay, all of them will close. Now, this is my application. In the pom.xml, step 1 is to add config server as dependency. This is the first step. Okay, just wait. Okay, stuck. Just wait. I think it's trying to stop all this. It is stuck. Just wait. Yep. So now, in my application, this one, first step is to add the Spring Cloud config server as dependency. Okay, done. Second step is to enable config server. That's all. It will expose a REST endpoint. As I told you, there's only one REST endpoint /app name /profile. So enable config server. I'll import this. Okay, done. Then I need to tell where is my repository, right? In GitHub or SVN or anything. So in my YAML file, you can see I have configured spring.cloud.config.server.git.uri, and this is my GitHub URL. So I'll just go to this GitHub URL. Yeah. So here is my GitHub URL, which is having some YAML files. I'll explain you. See here, I have one YAML file with name Spring Cloud Config Client. So this is the YAML for which application? This is the YAML file for an application with name Spring Cloud Config Client. Another one is Spring Cloud Config Client -prod. This is the YAML file for application with name Spring Cloud Config Client for prod environment, prod profile. And this is application.yaml, which is common to all. Similarly, I have Waytlearn Trader -prod. Right now, let me open this Spring Cloud Config Client.yaml. Here it is containing simple two keys: test.message my name Prasad and pub server port is 2233. Right. So I want this configuration to be loaded. So I gave this one. Right now, my GitHub repository is public, so I didn't give username and password. Suppose yours is a private GitHub repository, you just need to give your username and password. Okay. Okay, there are properties, username and it's taking some time. Yeah, username and password you need to give if your GitHub repository is a private repository. Right now, mine is a public repository. And the Spring Cloud Config Server can also support not only GitHub, it also can support SVN. SVN also. You can have your YAML files in SVN repository also. You just need to configure SVN dot, or you can also configure your configuration in database also. In that case, you need to give jdbc.sql. So what is the SQL to select key value pairs? Suppose if you have configured all of your properties in a database, This is a default query. Okay, let me just show you here. Default query. Select star from properties. That means you should have all of your properties in a table called as properties, and there should be key and value. And this is the application name and profile name. And you have to give a label name also, right? So this is a query which is used. So what I mean to say is, instead of keeping your YAML files either in GitHub or SVN, you can keep them in JDBC database also. Right now, I'm using GitHub. Okay, that's all I told to my config server. Where is my GitHub repository? And I want my server to start on 4000. What all I did? I just added Spring Cloud config server as a dependency. First step. Second step is enable config server. Third step is I configured and told where is my repository. That's all. Let me start my application. Okay, it's started on port 4000. As I told you, even before I start my microservice, let me check how this configuration server's REST endpoints work. So there is a endpoint with name with URL /appname/profile, right? So let me try to hit it. Localhost 4000 slash app name. Actually, here the file name is what? Spring Cloud config client slash for profile default. I want default profile. So I'm giving a request like this. Let us see. I give a request to my config server. My config server has to fetch it from GitHub and give that. It is taking some time. Yes. Now this is the JSON actually in raw data, and it's in JSON format. Here you can see it got the profile. It got the configuration for default profile. Here it is saying the profile says default. And how many property sources are there right now? There are two. One is Spring Cloud config client.yaml, which is containing this key and value pairs. And another property source is application.yaml. I told all the configuration for common to all microservices will be there in application.yaml, right? So here there's a key called as a and value is 1. Now, suppose if I give for dev, no, sorry, prod, I have configured for prod /prod. Let us see what will happen. Oh, yeah. Now, how many property sources are there for prod? 1, 2, and 3. This is a one specific to prod.yaml. This is the YAML specific to a default profile, and this is for all application.yaml. So it is giving me all the property sources, right? So that's how Spring Cloud config server is exposing a REST endpoint, and microservices can fetch their configurations by giving a request similar to it. Now let me start microservice. A simple code. Here I have one application. This should be the client to the config server, right? So here in my form.xml, here I wrote Spring Cloud config client as dependency. Okay. Spring Cloud config client as dependency I have added. And I have Actuator. I'll tell you the purpose of Actuator, why I have added it just now. Then here to my config client, I should somehow tell where is the location of config server. And remember, right now I am not writing in a file called as application.yaml. I am writing in a file called as bootstrap.yaml. So I told that even before my S1 application creates any other beans, even before any other configuration files are loaded, I want to fetch the configuration from config server. I want some logic to be getting executed, which will make a REST API call, right? So actually, if you want any logic to be executed even before your application configuration files are loaded, then in Spring Boot, there is something called as Spring Bootstrap configuration. Bootstrap configuration files are loaded before your application configuration files. Okay. So in Spring Boot, there are some configurations called as Bootstrap configurations. So first, those Bootstrap configuration files will be loaded. Then only our application specific configuration files will be loaded, right? So whenever I am adding Spring Cloud config client or any of the cloud modules, basically any of the Spring Cloud modules, the Bootstrap configurations, auto configurations will be added in the class path. Bootstrap configurations will be added whenever you add any of the cloud module. So if you are having any of the cloud module in dependency, so whenever my application context is starting up, first it will load Bootstrap configuration. One of the Bootstrap configuration, what it will do, it will load bootstrap.yml, and it has a logic to make a request to config server and fetch the configuration. Once this request is made and configuration is fetched, then our application specific configuration classes will be loaded. So that is the order. So if you want to connect to config server at the Bootstrap itself, what you need to do is you need to configure the properties in bootstrap.yml. Okay, that is the importance of bootstrap.yml. So whenever you are using Spring Cloud config server, you should not write inside application YML, because your application specific configuration is present in your GitHub. It has to fetch it from there. What all you need to do is you need to write some bootstrap configuration here in bootstrap.yml. Here I told spring.cloud.config.url. These are config server URL, which is 4000 port. And what is the name of this microservice? Spring.application.name, right? So this is not required right now. Let it be there, but this is not required initially. Okay, so that's it. Now, if you see in my application, I have my controller, REST controller. What I did is I'm injecting test.message using value. Actually, in my repository test.message, here I have some value, and server.port, here I have some value. So what I'm doing in my controller is I'm injecting test.message here, and then whenever request comes to /msg, I will return hello plus message. Just for demonstration, I have written some simple REST controller. That's all. And this is my boot application. I'm starting up. So let us observe the console. When the client application is starting up, it's a config client, and I have bootstrap.yml. It should execute some bootstrap configuration. See here, it is fetching from config server at localhost 4000. So bootstrap configuration is fetching the configuration from config server from bootstrap property sources. See here, you can see something like bootstrap property source and all, right? Now my Tomcat started on port 2233. Hey, did I tell what the port of my Tomcat in my YAML? No. Actually, I have specified the port in my YAML file on GitHub, 2233, right? So it also proves that this configuration file is loaded. And you can see on the console also, it is fetching the configuration, right? Now, let me try to give a request to localhost 2233/msg. Am I getting the value Prasad from my GitHub? Yes. So that proves that it has fetched the configuration and started that. So now you know how to centralize the configurations in a config server and how to make your microservice to bootstrap the configurations from the config server, right? What all I need to do in my microservice? Step one is in my pom.xml, I just need to add Spring Cloud Starter config. And in the bootstrap.yml, I should tell where is my config server located and what is my.
Hey viewers, are you looking for formal training on SRE practices? Take our SRE program. This course will teach you how to successfully implement site reliability engineering in the modern day 24/7 services. Kickstart your SRE training today. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
Application, that's all. It will fetch the configurations, right? Now, here in my controller, I have injected test.message here and I'm returning, right? I gave a request to /msg. I got hello plus messages. Prasad, I got it. Now, the interesting thing, I will change my configuration by editing it. Okay, I need to log in. Let me log in. Yeah, I logged in. Now I'll try to edit this. Okay, I make it as Siva. Commit. So I changed my configuration in GitHub. Now the test.message is Siva. Do you think my application will fetch this configuration? If I say /msg, will it say hello Siva? No, it is still saying hello Prasad. The changes in my GitHub are not reflected here. Why? Because only during the startup of my application, it is fetching the config from config server. After my application started, if I make changes in GitHub, it will not come here. So do you want me to restart my application? Oh, too much. I don't want to restart my application. I don't want to restart my application. Without restarting, I want this configuration. So what to do? What I can do is, somehow if application context dot refresh is called, there's a method called as refresh in application context. And there's another method called as application context dot restart. The two methods, you need to know the difference between these two, refresh and restart on application context. If you say restart, all the beans will be recreated. Everything will restart. All the beans will be recreated. But if you say refresh, application context dot refresh, beans will not be recreated. Only the configurations will be loaded. Only the configurations will be loaded. Right? So somehow I need to call application context dot refresh. Actually, in Spring Boot Actuator, there is one endpoint called as refresh endpoint. What all I need to do is in my microservice, I just need to add actuator as dependency, and I need to expose an endpoint called as refresh. So whenever I hit this refresh endpoint, what will happen is it will internally call application context dot refresh. Okay, but that has to be a post request. So whenever application context refresh is called, new configurations will be loaded again. Let me clear this. Now I'll use my postman to make a post request because that's a post request. So I'll give a post request to what? Localhost. The port is 2233 on my microservice /activator /refresh. Send. See what is happening on the console. Just see. Is it fetching the configuration again? Yes. Actually, I didn't restart my application. I just have hit refresh endpoint. I just have hit refresh endpoint on the application. This is actuator endpoint. It internally calls application context at refresh. So it will fetch the configuration. So now the new configuration might be fetched. My application is not yet restarted. Then now if I give a request to /msg, will I get the new value? Siva, let us check. I'm refreshing. Oh, still it is showing me the old value. I saw on console that it has fetched the values. The new value might have come. And I'm expecting that this message should be the new message. It should be Siva, but it is still showing as Prasad. Can you guess why? So actually whenever we hit this endpoint /refresh, it is just loading only the configuration files, but singleton beans are not loaded, right? So here in this case, REST controller is singleton bean, right? So this is not recreated. So the new value was not injected. New values are not injected. So that's the reason why I'm saying that. So now what I want is, whenever the properties are refreshed, I want this to be recreated. By default, singleton beans will be created only once. There is singleton scope, right? But there is one more scope called as refreshed scope. You just have to annotate your class with refreshed scope. So what is the meaning of refreshed scope? Whenever application context.refresh is called, this bean annotated with refresh scope also will be recreated, right? So I have done that. Now let me restart it because I changed the code, right, and restart it. Okay, I'll restart it. Just let us wait. Yeah, I'll take 2 more minutes and I'll complete this topic because this is Friday. I don't want to postpone it again to Monday. Monday we'll start fresh with next topics like security and all. So just give me 2 more minutes. When I will complete it. Okay, now it's stored on 2233. Let me give a request to /msg. Am I getting the new value, Siva? Yes. Anyway, I restarted, right? Now what I'll do is I'll go and change it to again XYZ and commit the changes. Okay, done. Now if I give a request to /msg, will I get XYZ? No. Once I change my configurations, I need to hit refresh endpoint. So I need to hit refresh endpoint. Then properties will be reloaded. And now any bean annotated with refresh scope also will be recreated. So this will be recreated and a new value also will get injected. I didn't restart my application right now. I just refreshed. Now I think it got refreshed. Now if I just go and refresh it, I got the new value X, Y, Z, right? So that's how you can actually get the configuration even without restarting your applications. Any doubts till now? That's about refresh scope, how to work with a configuration server and all the properties. Any doubts till
So,
now?
Shiva, every
Yeah.
time any change is being made, that refresh endpoint has to be hit, is it? We have to separately hit it, is it?
Yes, we have to hit that refresh endpoint, otherwise new configuration will not be loaded.
Okay, suppose like in production, right? So there is a change being made, and suppose so they don't allow us to access the production endpoints. So for that, we need to make sure that we have access and then make a change and then hit refresh and do it. So that's the way to go.
Yeah, let me tell you one more thing here. Okay, there are two more approaches. Let me elaborate since you asked. I'll take 5 more minutes. If please bear with me for 5 more minutes. I'll explain this. So I understood your question. So now let's assume that this is my service 1, service 2, service 3, and each service having multiple instances. I'll tell you one problem. This is my config server, and this is my configuration GitHub. Okay. Whenever I change something in GitHub, what I need to do? I need to hit refresh endpoint. Then only the new configuration will be loaded. But if I have 10 instances, 10 instances are having 10 different IPs and ports. They're running differently. On 10 of them, I need to hit refresh endpoint. Too much. I had to manually hit 10 endpoints on 10 instances. 20 times. Too much. No, that is not a solution. So what I want is first step. If I hit refresh on any one of the endpoint, automatically for all the other instances also, they should refresh themselves. That is my requirement, right? So there is one more module in Spring called as Spring Cloud Bus, and it is in combination with AMQP, Spring Cloud Bus AMQP. You just need to add a dependency called as Spring Cloud Bus AMQP. That's all in your microservices. Once you add that, it internally comes up with a dependency of RabbitMQ. If you want any other AMQP provider, you can add the dependencies. By default, it comes up with RabbitMQ. So once you add the dependency in your microservices, what that will do is during startup, it will create an exchange in RabbitMQ. Of course, in your YML file, you need to tell how to connect to this RabbitMQ. That configuration, you have to do it in your YAML file. So once you add dependency and configure the YAML file, what will happen? During the startup of this, any of all instances, automatically if there is no exchange, it will create an exchange with name Spring Cloud Bus. Spring Cloud Bus. And for each application instance, a queue will be created. If there are 10 instances, 10 queues will be created in RabbitMQ, and these queues will be bound to this exchange with hash. Okay. Now, whenever Spring Cloud Bus is added as dependency, there will be one more endpoint called as /bus/refresh. Now, what you need to do is you just need to hit /bus/refresh /bus/refresh on any one of the endpoint. Any one of the endpoint. When you hit /bus/refresh on any one of the endpoint, what this will do is it will put a message to the exchange. Okay. Then all the microservice instances are registered for or are listeners for this queues, right? So all of them will get a message and they will refresh themselves. Okay. So what all you need to do is on any one of the instance, you just need to configure hit bus/refresh. So all the other instances will automatically get refreshed. So you need to do two things. One is add Spring Cloud Bus AMQP as dependency. You need to have RabbitMQ or any other broker, right? Then then you need to, in your YAML file, you need to tell how to connect to this RabbitMQ. That's all. Everything will happen automatically because of auto configuration. Whenever you change something in your repository, you need to hit /bus/refresh. That is required. But again, Sujit, you are saying, hey, again, at least I need to hit /bus/refresh, right? Yeah, it is required. Because whenever you change something in GitHub, you know that you have changed some configuration related to S1 or S2 or S3, you need to hit it. But you want that to automatically happen, right? So there is one more thing in GitHub. There is something called as webhook. We can configure a webhook on GitHub. So how to do that? Let me go to my Git repository. In settings of my repository, here is a GitHub webhook, right? I need to add a webhook. So I need to give the URL to GitHub to hit. Okay. So what I need to do is on GitHub, if I give the URL of my application, whenever something is changed in my repository, it will actually make a request to this URL, whatever you give. Okay. Then on your application, in your application, there should be some endpoint listening for those changes from GitHub, right? So there is one more module called as monitor, Spring Cloud Monitor. If you add that as a dependency in your application, it will expose /monitor endpoint. Spring Cloud Monitor, it will expose /monitor endpoint. And this is the endpoint URL which you need to give on your repository. So it will hit this one. Then rest all will be same. This monitor endpoint will publish a message to bus and all the instances will get refreshed. That is one thing which you need to do if you want the changes to be automatically published from GitHub. You need to register a webhook with GitHub. These are the various things. Okay. Clear, Sujit? Any doubts?
Yeah, Shiva, and we didn't specify any specific YAML file, right? Anywhere, because we had different YAML files. So how do we make sure, hey, go and fetch from this YAML file?
Yeah, see, in my microservice, I should have Bootstrap configuration file YAML, and here I'm specifying what is my name, Spring Cloud Config Client. Let's say this is S1. Okay, then in my GitHub repository, right, I need to write files by following the convention. See, I have written Spring Cloud Config Client.yaml -prod.yaml. So I should have written s1.yaml, s1-prod.yaml. I need to follow those conventions and write my YAML files in my repository. Okay. So this name, whatever you write, should match names here in the configuration, right? That's it. So yeah, I've taken 15 more minutes of your time. We'll meet on Monday. Maybe if you have some more queries, you can do the exercises. Corresponding exercises are there in the same zip file, right? And if someone was not able to download, I have actually added one more zip file, which is actually not having unnecessary files. It's just 85 MB, micro 2021. If somebody is facing error with zip file, yesterday somebody has requested me and I have uploaded this. You can download this, which will contain only the workspace and required files.
Thanks for watching. Want to study further? Join our training programs today.